Captain Hyun-woo stood on the bridge of his cargo ship, watching the stars move past the main window. His ship, the Prosperity's Edge, was not big or fancy, but it was his home. For 5 years, he had flown cargo runs across the galaxy with his crew. They carried food, tools, and supplies to faraway planets and space stations. "Captain, we're getting close to Kepler 442b, said So Young from her seat at the communication desk. She was his first officer and had been with him since the beginning. Her voice was calm, but Hyun-woo could hear she was tired. They had been flying for 3 weeks straight. "Good. I'll be happy to stretch my legs," said Tae-min from the pilot's chair. He was young but skilled at flying the ship through dangerous asteroid fields and space storms. "This mining station better have good food. I'm sick of eating space rations." Hyun-woo smiled. His crew always complained about the food, but they never complained about the work. They were good people, and he trusted them with his life. The mining station appeared on their screen. It was an ugly metal structure built into a large asteroid. Pipes and towers stuck out in all directions. Ships came and went, carrying loads of rare metals and crystals. The station made good money, so they always paid for supplies on time. "Prosperity's Edge. This is Kepler Station Control," came a rough voice over the radio. The speaker was clearly not human. "You are cleared for Docking Bay 7. Unload your cargo quickly. We are busy today." "Understood, Control," So Young replied. She looked at Hyun-woo and shook her head. The aliens who ran this station were never friendly. As their ship moved closer, Hyun-woo saw the workers on the station's outside platforms. Most were wearing heavy suits to protect them from space. But something looked wrong. Some of the workers seemed too small. "Tae-min, can you get a closer look at those workers?" Hyun-woo asked. The pilot adjusted their path slightly. Through the window, they could see the mining platforms more clearly. Hyun-woo felt his stomach drop. Among the adult workers, he could see figures that were clearly much smaller. They moved like children. "Are those kids?" So Young whispered. Before anyone could answer, their ship docked with a loud clang. The docking bay was dark and filled with the smell of metal and oil. As they opened their cargo doors, several alien workers came to unload their supplies. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They were Vorthak, a species known for being good at mining and not much else. "Where is your cargo manifest?" asked the lead Vorthak in broken human language. Hyun-woo handed over the digital tablet. As the aliens checked their delivery, he looked around the docking bay. In the corner, he saw a group of small figures sitting on boxes. They wore dirty work clothes and had thin faces. They were definitely human children, maybe 12 to 15 years old. "Why are there children here?" Hyun-woo asked the lead Vorthak. The alien looked where he was pointing. "They are workers, very good workers. Small hands, good for tight spaces." "Workers? They're kids. They should be in school, not working in a dangerous mine." The Vorthak made a sound like laughter. "Human children are strong. They learn fast. We pay good money for them." Hyun-woo felt anger rising in his chest. "Pay money? You bought these children?" "Of course. Legal purchase from traders in outer sectors. They bring us many human children. Very good business, So." Young stepped beside her captain. She could see his hands were shaking with rage. "Hyun-woo, we need to be careful here," she whispered. The Vorthak finished checking their cargo and started walking away. "Your payment will be transferred in 1 hour. Do not interfere with our workers." After the aliens left, the 3 humans stood in silence. The children in the corner had not moved. They stared at the floor and did not look up when the adults walked closer. "Hey there," Hyun-woo said softly to one of the children, a girl who looked about 13. "What's your name?" The girl looked up with frightened eyes. She had brown hair and pale skin. "We're not supposed to talk to strangers," she whispered. "It's okay. I'm human, like you. My name is Hyun-woo." "I'm Mina," the girl said quietly. "Are you here to take us home?" The question hit Hyun-woo like a punch. "Where are you from, Mina?" "New Seoul Colony. But the bad men took us when the pirates attacked our town. They sold us to the gray people." Tae-min knelt down next to another child, a boy with short black hair. "How long have you been here?" 6 months, I think. It's hard to know." We work every day in the deep tunnels. The gray people get angry if we're too slow. So Young was recording everything on her personal device. She tried to keep her voice steady. How many children are here? Maybe 30 on this station, but there are more on other stations. The gray people talk about it sometimes. A loud alarm rang through the docking bay. The children quickly stood up and started walking toward a tunnel entrance. We have to go back to work now, Mina said. If we're late, they don't give us food. Wait, Hyunwoo called, but the children were already gone. The 3 crew members looked at each other. They all knew they had just discovered something terrible. We have to do something, Taemin said. What can we do? We're just cargo runners, So Young replied. We're humans, Hyunwoo said firmly, and those are human children being treated like slaves. We can't just leave them here. A new voice spoke from behind them. I suggest you forget what you saw here, Captain. They turned to see a larger Vorthak approaching. This one wore a uniform, with symbols showing high rank. His voice was cold and threatening. I am Commander Grextal, leader of this station. Your cargo is unloaded. You should leave now. We need to talk about those children, Hyunwoo said. There is nothing to discuss. Those workers are legal property, purchased according to galactic trade laws. If you cause problems, I will ban all human ships from Vorthak territory. Property? They're children, not property. In this sector, they are whatever I say they are. Leave now, or I will have you arrested for interfering with mining operations. Hyunwoo wanted to fight, but he knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. Slowly, he nodded. We'll go, but this isn't over. As their ship pulled away from the station, the 3 humans watched through the window. Somewhere inside that ugly, metal structure, 30 human children were working in dangerous tunnels far from their homes and families. So Young, send a message to Earth. Tell them what we found here, Hyunwoo ordered. What good will that do? The government won't care about kids from a small colony. Maybe not. But someone will care. Someone has to care. As the stars stretched into lines and they jumped to faster-than-light travel, Hyunwoo made a promise. To himself. He would find a way to help those children no matter what it cost him. 3 days after leaving Kepler 442b, Hyunwoo sat in his small captain's office, staring at the communication screen. He had sent 5 messages to Earth, but only one person had replied. Admiral Ji-hoon of the Human Defense Fleet had sent back a short note. Report received. We'll investigate when resources allow. That's it? So Young asked, reading over his shoulder. We'll investigate when resources allow? There are children being tortured in alien mines, and that's all he says. The Admiral has bigger problems to worry about, Hyunwoo said, but his voice showed he was angry too. Pirates attacking trade routes, border disputes with the Zeltharan Empire. Missing children from a small colony don't make the priority list. Taemin entered the office carrying a hot cup of coffee. I've been thinking, Captain, what if we go back? We could try to rescue those kids ourselves. With what? We have 3 people and a cargo ship. That station has hundreds of Vorthak guards and weapons that could blow us apart. So we just give up? Before Hyunwoo could answer, the communication system beeped. A new message was coming in. The sender was Dr. Yoon-ji, from the Galactic Research Institute on Mars. Captain Park, the message began, using Hyunwoo's full name. I received your report about human children in Vorthak mining operations. I am a xenopsychologist studying alien behavior patterns. Your information matches other reports I have been collecting. We need to meet. Hyunwoo looked at his crew. At least someone is taking this seriously. They changed course for Mars. The Red Planet was home to several human research centers and had good security. If they were going to plan something dangerous, it was a safe place to do it. Dr. Yoon-ji met them at the spaceport. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes behind thick glasses. She carried a heavy bag full of data tablets and files. Thank you for coming, she said as they shook hands. What you discovered is worse than you realize. She led them to a secure meeting room in the research center. The walls were covered with star maps and photos of alien species. Dr. Yoon-ji spread several files across the table. For the past year, I have been tracking strange patterns in human disappearances. Children from outer colonies going missing during pirate raids. But the raids seemed too organized, too focused. She showed them photos of different mining stations and alien facilities. I believe the Vorthak have been working with pirates to kidnap human children specifically. They are not just using them as workers. What do you mean? So Young asked. The Vorthak are studying human children. They want to understand how human minds work at a young age. They believe young human brains are more flexible, easier to control. Taemin felt sick. You mean they're doing experiments? Yes. Psychological experiments, neural studies, behavioral modification. They are trying to create the perfect human. Slave. One who obeys without question and can work in conditions that would drive adults insane. Hyunwoo stared at the photos. How many children are we talking about? My estimates suggest over 300 children spread across 12 different Vorthak facilities. But I cannot prove this without better evidence. Then we get the evidence, Hyunwoo said firmly. Dr. Yoonji nodded. There is a facility on Titan 7, a moon in the outer system. Intelligence suggests it is their main research center. If we could get inside and document what they are doing. That's suicide, So Young said. How do we even get close to a secret alien research base? I may have a solution for that, Dr. Yoonji replied. The facility receives regular supply deliveries. Food, equipment, medical supplies. If we could replace one of those deliveries. Over the next several hours, they planned their mission. Dr. Yoonji would use her research connections to get them fake delivery orders. Hyunwoo's ship would be disguised as a supply vessel. They would get inside the facility, record evidence, and escape. This is incredibly dangerous, Dr. Yoonji warned. If we are caught, the Vorthak will not just kill us. They will make us disappear completely. Those children are depending on us, Hyunwoo replied. We have to try. The journey to Titan 7 took 6 days. The moon was small and cold, covered in thick clouds. The Vorthak facility was built into the side of a mountain, hidden from most sensors. Only a few ships came and went each week. Titan 7 Control, this is Supply Vessel Morningstar, So Young said into the radio using their fake ship name. We have medical supplies and food for delivery. Morningstar, you're early. We were not expecting delivery for 2 days. Hyunwoo held his breath. Their fake papers said they were early because of good weather and fast travel. Control, we had clear hyperspace lanes. No reason to wait in orbit when we can deliver now. After a long pause, the voice replied, Understood. Proceed to Docking Bay 3. Our workers will unload your cargo. The facility was even more frightening than the mining station. Everything was white and sterile, like a hospital. But the smell was wrong. Chemicals and fear mixed together. Alien guards with weapons watched every corridor. As Vorthak workers unloaded their fake medical supplies, Hyunwoo and his crew explored the facility. They wore small recording devices hidden in their clothes. What they found made them sick with anger. The children were kept in small rooms like prison cells. They wore thin clothes and had numbers tattooed on their arms. Many looked sick or injured. Some sat in corners, rocking back and forth and making no sound. In one room, Taemin saw something that made his blood freeze. A boy who looked familiar was strapped to a medical table while a Vorthak scientist ran tests on his brain. The boy's eyes were open but empty, like he was not really there anymore. Minho? Taemin whispered. It was his younger cousin, who had been reported missing 6 months ago from New Sol Colony. The Vorthak scientist, whose name tag read Vextar, was speaking to another alien. This subject shows excellent adaptation to neural conditioning. Human children are much easier to modify than adults. How long until he is ready for full programming? 2 more weeks. Then he will be a perfect worker. No memory of his past. No desire except to obey orders. Taemin started to move toward the door, but So Young grabbed his arm. We can't help him if we're caught, she whispered. They continued recording, documenting room after room of human children in various stages of psychological torture. Some had been turned into mindless workers. Others were still fighting, locked in isolation cells as punishment. In the main laboratory, they found the worst discovery. A chart on the wall showed the locations of other facilities, with numbers of children at each site. The total was over 500. Dr. Yoonji recorded everything on her device. "This is enough evidence to bring down their entire operation," she whispered. But as they prepared to leave, an alarm began ringing throughout the facility. "Intruders detected in Section 7, announced a mechanical voice. "All guards report to containment positions." Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridors. The Vorthak had discovered their true identity. "Run!" Hyunwoo shouted. They raced through the white hallways as alien guards chased them. Laser blasts burned the air near their heads. Behind them, they could hear Vextar shouting orders in the Vorthak language. At the docking bay, more guards were waiting. Taemin tackled one alien while So Young shot another with a stun weapon. Hyunwoo started the ship's engines as laser fire hit their hull. "Wait!" Taemin shouted. "I'm not leaving without Min-ho." Taemin, no. But the young pilot was already running back into the facility. 5 minutes later, he returned carrying 12 human children, including his cousin. The children were weak and scared, but alive. "Go, go, go!" Taemin yelled as he threw the children into the ship. The Prosperity's edge lifted off just as Vorthak fighters appeared in the sky. Hyunwoo pushed the engines to maximum power, racing for the edge of the moon's gravity field. "Hyperspace in 10 seconds, So Young announced. A missile exploded near their ship, shaking everyone inside. The rescued children were crying and holding each other. 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1. The stars turned to lines, and they escaped into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, the Vorthak facility grew smaller and disappeared. But they all knew this was just the beginning. They had evidence of terrible crimes, but they had also made powerful enemies. And there were still hundreds of human children trapped in alien facilities across the galaxy. So Young, send everything to Admiral Ji-hoon, Hyunwoo ordered. Tell him we have proof. Tell him what they're doing to our children. This time, the Admiral would have to listen. The medical center on Earth was quiet except for the soft sound of machines monitoring the rescued children. Dr. Da-eun, a child psychologist, worked carefully with each young patient. Some children could speak about their experiences. Others just stared at the walls, their minds still trapped in the horror they had lived through. Hyunwoo stood in the observation room, watching through a window, as Dr. Da-yeon talked to Mina, the girl from the mining station. Even after 2 weeks of care, Mina still jumped at sudden sounds and asked permission before doing anything. "She's making progress," Dr. Yoonji said, joining him at the window. "But the psychological damage is severe. The Vorthak didn't just force them to work. They broke their spirits." "What about Min-ho?" Hyunwoo asked, looking at Taemin's cousin in the next room. The boy sat on his bed, building simple structures with blocks. The doctor said it was a good sign that he wanted to create things. His memory is slowly returning. The Vorthak neural conditioning was not complete when we rescued him. But some of the other children, Dr. Yoonji shook her head. Some may never fully recover. The door opened and Admiral Ji-hoon entered wearing his full military uniform. The Admiral was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. Behind him came several other high-ranking officers. "Captain Park," the Admiral said formally, "thank you for your service to humanity. Your evidence has been verified by our intelligence teams." "What are you going to do about it?" Hyunwoo asked directly. "We are preparing a formal complaint to the Galactic Council. The Vorthak will face serious sanctions for their actions." So Young, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, stood up angrily. "Sanctions? They tortured human children and you want to write them a complaint letter?" "Lieutenant Commander, please remember your place," one of the other officers warned. "My place is protecting human children," So Young shot back. "Not playing politics while kids suffer in alien laboratories." Admiral Ji-hoon held up his hand for silence. "I understand your anger, but we must follow proper legal procedures. If we attack the Vorthak without authorization from the Galactic Council, we become the criminals." Dr. Yoonji stepped forward. "Admiral, with respect, the Galactic Council moves very slowly. By the time they make a decision, hundreds more children could be taken." "That may be true, but we are bound by interstellar law." 3 days later, the Galactic Council met on the neutral station Harmony Prime. Ambassador Kyung-ho led the human delegation, presenting all the evidence they had gathered. Videos of the facilities, testimonies from rescued children, and proof of the Vorthak's crimes. The council chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. Some looked disturbed by the evidence. Others seemed bored, like this was just another trade dispute. "The evidence is clear," Ambassador Kyung-ho said, his voice carrying across the large room. "The Vorthak have committed crimes against sentient beings. They have enslaved children and conducted illegal experiments on them." Counselor Thexmorn, the Vorthak representative, stood to respond. He was larger than most of his species, with scarred gray skin and cold black eyes. "The human accusations are based on emotion, not law," Thexmorn said in his mechanical voice. "These subjects were obtained through legal salvage operations during pirate attacks. Under Section 47 of the Galactic Trade Code, recovered property may be sold to cover rescue costs." "Property?" Ambassador Kyung-ho's voice rose. "You're calling children property? Human offspring found in abandoned locations without guardians present. They were salvaged according to established procedures." "Abandoned? Their parents were killed by pirates working with you?" "Prove this connection," Thexmorn replied calmly. "You have no evidence linking Vorthak citizens to these alleged pirate attacks." The debate continued for hours. Many alien counselors argued that this was an internal matter between humans and Vorthak. Others said the evidence was not strong enough to justify action. Finally, Counselor Zelthara of the Krellian Syndicate spoke. The Krellians were wealthy traders who controlled many shipping routes. "Perhaps there is a simple solution," Zelthara said. "If humans want these subjects returned, they may purchase them at fair market prices." The human delegation sat in shocked silence. "Purchase them?" Ambassador Kyung-ho whispered. "You want us to buy back our own children?" "It is a reasonable compromise," Thexmorn agreed. "We have invested significant resources in housing and training these workers. Compensation is appropriate." Ambassador Kyung-ho stood slowly. His face was red with rage. "You steal our children, torture them, experiment on them, and then you want us to pay you for the privilege of getting them back?" "The subjects were legally obtained. If you disagree with salvage laws, petition for changes through proper channels." "Proper channels?" The ambassador's voice echoed through the chamber. "How long do proper channels take? Months? Years? While human children suffer in your laboratories?" "That is not our concern," Thexmorn replied coldly. The breaking point came when Counselor Vektar of the Zeltharan Empire added his voice. "Perhaps this situation teaches humans a valuable lesson about protecting their territory. If human settlements cannot defend their offspring, they forfeit the right to complain about their eventual disposition." The silence in the chamber was complete. Every human representative stared at the alien counselors in disbelief. Then Ambassador Kyung-ho began to laugh. It was not a happy sound. "Eventual disposition," he repeated. "You speak of human children like they are cargo to be disposed of." "From our perspective, that is what they are," Thexmorn said. "Humans assign emotional value to their offspring that other species find excessive." "Excessive?" Ambassador Kyung-ho's voice became dangerously quiet. "You think caring about our children is excessive? It clouds your judgment, makes you inefficient." Ambassador Kyung-ho looked around the chamber at all the alien faces staring at him. Some looked uncomfortable, others seemed amused. A few appeared completely indifferent to human suffering. "I see," the ambassador said finally. "You view human children as objects to be bought and sold. You think our love for them makes us weak." "It makes you predictable," Thexmorn replied. Ambassador Kyung-ho gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. The other human delegates followed him. "Where are you going?" Counselor Zelthara called out. "We have not finished negotiations." "The where?" Ambassador stopped at the door and turned back. "Negotiations? There are no negotiations here. You have made your position clear. Human children are property to be traded. Human emotions are weaknesses to be exploited." "That is correct." Then let me make our position equally clear. Ambassador. Kyung-ho's voice carried a new tone that made several alien counselors shift uncomfortably in their seats. Any species that harms human children is no longer our friend. They are our enemy, and humans have a very long history of dealing with enemies. Is that a threat? Thexmoran asked. It's a promise, the ambassador replied. You want to see how our emotions make us predictable? Keep hurting our children. You'll discover just how predictable we can be. The human delegation left the chamber. Behind them, the alien counselors began arguing among themselves. Some worried that they had pushed the humans too far. Others dismissed the threats as empty bluffing. On Earth, Admiral Ji-hoon received a coded message from Ambassador Kyung-ho. Diplomacy has failed. The children are on their own unless we act. The Admiral looked at his communications officer. Send a message to all fleet commanders. Operation Righteous Fury is now authorized. We're going to war. Dr. Yoonji was still working with the rescued children when the news broadcasts began. Human military forces are mobilizing across all sectors, the reporter announced. Government. Sources confirm that diplomatic efforts have failed to resolve the situation regarding kidnapped human children. One of the children, a boy named Jun-soo, looked up from his coloring book. Are the gray people going to take us back? Dr. Yoonji knelt down beside him. No, Jun-soo. No one is ever going to hurt you again. How do you know? She looked out the window, where human warships were visible in Earth's orbit, preparing for a battle. Because someone very powerful is very angry about what happened to you, she said softly. And when humans get angry about their children, nothing in the universe can stop them. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson about human nature that they would never forget. Admiral Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, watching dozens of human warships prepare for battle. His fleet was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. Ships came from every human colony, every defense station, every corner of human space. Admiral, all vessels report ready, said Commander Hae-young, his second-in-command. 147 ships, including 30 battle cruisers and 12 dreadnoughts. What about our special weapons? The gravity manipulation systems are installed and tested. The Vorthak won't know what hit them. Ji-hoon nodded grimly. For 50 years, humans had kept their most advanced weapons secret. While other species built bigger guns and thicker armor, human scientists had learned to bend gravity itself. They could crush enemy ships without firing a single shot. Sir, incoming message from Captain Park, the communications officer reported. Hyun-woo's face appeared on the main screen. He was aboard his cargo ship, but now it was armed with military weapons. Admiral, my team has identified 12 facilities, holding human children. We're ready to begin rescue operations. Remember, Captain, the children come first. I don't care if you have to destroy entire stations to save them. Understood, sir. We won't leave any child behind. The first target was the mining station at Kepler 442b, where Hyun-woo had first discovered the enslaved children. The station's commanders had no warning when human ships appeared in their system. Attention, Vorthak vessels. Admiral Ji-hoon broadcast across all frequencies. You are holding human children against their will. Return them immediately or face the consequences. The Vorthak commander, Grextal, responded with anger. Human fleet, you have no authority in this sector. Leave now or we will destroy you. You. Enslaved human children, Ji-hoon replied, his voice cold as space. You tortured them, experimented on them, treated them as property. Have you lost all reason? Did you think there would be no consequence? They are legal workers purchased according to. Ji-hoon cut off the transmission. All ships begin attack. Show them what happens when humanity is truly angry. The battle was over in minutes. Human ships used their gravity weapons to crush. The Vorthak vessels like tin cans. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their ships simply collapsed in on themselves, metal screaming as it folded into impossible shapes. Sergeant Wansik led the rescue teams onto the mining station. The Vorthak guards tried to resist, but human soldiers fought with a fury that terrified their enemies. These were not just warriors following orders. They were parents and siblings and friends fighting to save children. Building 7, Section 3, Onesick reported over his radio. I've found 32 children. They're alive, but in bad condition. Lieutenant, Eugen's team found more children in the deep mining tunnels. These kids have been working 16-hour shifts, she reported, her voice shaking with anger. Some are too weak to walk. As the children were carried to safety, the adult Vorthak workers watched in terror. They had never seen humans fight before. The stories they heard made humans sound weak and emotional. But these soldiers moved like hunting animals, efficient and deadly. One by one, the Vorthak facilities fell to human attacks. Admiral Jihoon's strategy was simple, overwhelming, force applied with surgical precision, save the children, destroy everything else. At the research facility on Titan 7, Dr. Vextar tried to evacuate his laboratory when human ships appeared. Destroy all evidence, he ordered his assistants. Kill the test subjects if necessary, but Colonel Donghyun's assault team was already inside the facility. Any alien who harms a child will be shot immediately, he announced over the base's communication system. Surrender now, and you might live. The Vorthak scientist was found trying to delete his research files when human soldiers broke down his door. Taemin was with them carrying a weapon and wearing military armor. Remember me? Taemin asked, grabbing Vextar by the throat. You were experimenting on my cousin. You were going to erase his memory. Please, I was only following orders, the alien begged. So am I, Taemin replied and shot him. The rescue operations continued across 12 star systems. Every Vorthak facility was destroyed. Every human child was found and saved. The aliens who had participated in the slavery ring were hunted, down without mercy. Commander Hae Young coordinated the attacks from the Indomitable's bridge. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from Vorthak colonies across their territory. Too late for surrender, Jihoon replied. They had their chance at the Galactic Council. Now they face justice. The Krelian Syndicate tried to negotiate when human fleets appeared in their space. Counselor Zelthara sent desperate messages to Earth. Admiral, we were only involved in transportation, his message said. We did not know the cargo was sentient beings. General Seok Jin, commanding the attack on Krelian space, responded with brutal honesty. You called human children subjects and wanted us to purchase them back. You knew exactly what you were doing. We offer full compensation for any damages. The only compensation we want is your complete destruction. The Krelian fleets were powerful, with advanced shields and weapons. But they had never faced gravity manipulation technology. Their ships were torn apart by invisible forces that bent space and time. Within hours, their military was completely defeated. The Zeltharan Empire lasted longer, but not by much. Their homeworld was defended by massive orbital stations and thousands of fighter ships. Emperor Vectar himself commanded the defense. Humans cannot defeat the entire galaxy, he broadcast to his forces. They are few in number and far from home, but when human ships arrived, they brought something the Zelotharans had not expected. Millions of angry human colonists in modified civilian ships, cargo haulers and mining vessels, fitted with military weapons by volunteers working around the clock. This is Captain Park of the Prosperity's Edge, Hyunwoo announced to the Zeltharan fleet. Every human in the galaxy is here today. We're here for our children. The battle above the Zeltharan homeworld was the largest space combat in galactic history. But it was not a fair fight. The aliens fought for orders and territory. The humans fought for their children. Captain Hyunwoo led a squadron of converted cargo ships through the enemy lines. His crew had grown from 3 to 30, volunteers who had joined his rescue missions. They moved through space like they were born to it, protecting each other and striking with perfect coordination. So Young, target that command ship, Hyunwoo ordered. Weapons locked. Gravity torpedo ready. Fire. The Zeltharan flagship folded in half as gravity compressed it into a ball of twisted metal. Emperor Vectar's final message was a scream of terror. Within 3 days, the war was over. The Vorthak civilization was reduced to scattered refugees begging for mercy. The Krelian Syndicate no longer existed. The Zeltharan Empire had surrendered unconditionally. Admiral Ji-hoon stood before the survivors of the alien leadership, broadcast across the galaxy for all species to see. "You asked if we had lost all reason," he said. "You wondered why we cared so much about our children. Today you have your answer." Behind him, rescued human children stood with their families, alive and safe. More than 3,000 children had been found and saved. Human children are not property to be sold. They are not subjects for experiments. They are not workers to be used until they die. They are our future, our hope, our greatest treasure. The alien survivors said nothing. They had learned the lesson, but the price had been their entire civilizations. "Let this be known throughout the galaxy," Admiral Ji-hoon continued. "Humans will trade peacefully with those who respect us. We will ignore those who simply dislike us. But any species that harms our children will be completely destroyed." He looked directly into the camera, speaking to every alien race watching. "Choose your category wisely." The Human Protection Fleet was established that same day, with Admiral Ji-hoon as its commander. Their mission was simple: make sure this never happened again. Captain Hyunwoo was offered a command in the new fleet, but he chose to return to his cargo runs. His ship now carried a different kind of cargo: hope for human families across the galaxy. "The war is over," So Young said as they prepared for their next journey. "No," Hyunwoo replied, looking at the stars ahead. "The war is just beginning. Now we make sure everyone knows what happens when you threaten human children." The galaxy had learned its lesson. But some lessons need to be repeated to make sure they are never forgotten. 2 years after the war ended, Captain Hyunwoo walked through the halls of the New Soul Recovery Center on Earth. The building was bright and cheerful, with wide windows and gardens where children could play safely. It was hard to believe that many of these laughing, running kids had once been prisoners in alien laboratories. "Uncle Hyunwoo," called a voice from across the playground. Minho, Taemin's cousin, ran toward him with a big smile. The boy looked healthy now, his cheeks full of color and his eyes bright with life. "How are you doing, Minho?" Hyunwoo asked, kneeling down to the boy's level. "Great. I'm learning to fly simulation ships in school. When I grow up, I want to be a pilot like cousin Taemin and protect other kids." Hyunwoo smiled. Minho had no memory of his time with the Vorthak, thanks to careful therapy from Dr. Dayun and her team. Some of the other children still struggled with nightmares and fear, but they were all alive and free. "That sounds like a good plan," Hyunwoo said. "The galaxy can always use more protectors." Dr. Yoonji approached from the medical building. She looked tired but happy. "Captain Park, good to see you. How was your last cargo run?" "Peaceful. No pirates, no alien threats, no problems, just boring supply deliveries to human colonies. Boring is good these days." They walked together toward the memorial garden at the center of the recovery center. A simple stone wall listed the names of every human child who had been rescued from alien facilities. Over 3,000 names were carved into the black stone. "Any news from Admiral Ji-hoon?" Dr. Yoonji asked. "The Human Protection Fleet is doing its job. They found another trafficking operation last month. Some species called the Gornathi were trying to copy what the Vorthak did." The Admiral's response was decisive, meaning the Gornathi no longer exist as a species. Dr. Yoonji nodded grimly. The galaxy had learned that humans meant what they said. Any species that harmed human children faced complete annihilation. No warnings, no negotiations, no mercy. They sat on a bench near the memorial wall. Around them, former prisoners played with toys and ran through sprinklers. It was a normal scene that had required a war to make possible. "Sometimes I wonder if we went too far," Dr. Yoonji said quietly. 3 entire alien civilizations destroyed, billions of lives lost. "Do you really wonder that?" Hyunwoo asked. She was quiet for a moment, watching a group of children play a simple game of tag. "No, not really. They made their choice when they decided our children were property." A new voice joined their conversation. "The galaxy is a safer place now," said So Young, walking up with Taemin behind her. Both wore the blue uniforms of the Human Protection Fleet. "How are the patrol missions going?" Hyunwoo asked his former crew members. "Quiet," Taemin replied. "Word has spread pretty thoroughly. Most species won't even look at human colonies the wrong way, let alone threaten our kids. What about the Galactic Council? Are they still trying to bring charges against humanity for the war?" So Young laughed. "They tried for about 6 months. Then Admiral Ji-hoon parked a battle fleet outside Harmony Prime and asked if they'd like to discuss the matter in person. The charges were dropped very quickly. The truth was that humanity had completely withdrawn from most galactic institutions. They still traded with species that treated them with respect, but they no longer participated in the complex politics of the galaxy-wide government. Human colonies were protected by human fleets, and human law was enforced by human courts. Ambassador, Kyung-ho thinks we'll eventually rejoin the galactic community, Dr. Yoonji said, when we're ready to trust again. That could take a very long time, Hyunwoo replied. A small girl with brown hair approached their bench. It was Mina, the first child Hyunwoo had spoken to at the mining station. She carried a drawing in her hands. "Dr. Yoonji, I made something for you," Mina said shyly. The drawing showed a large spaceship with the words "Prosperity's Edge" written on the side. Stick figures of people were walking off the ship, holding hands with smaller stick figures that represented children. "It's the day you saved us," Mina explained. "I wanted you to have it so you don't forget." "We could never forget," Hyunwoo said softly. "That day changed everything." That evening, Hyunwoo met with Admiral Ji-hoon at the military headquarters in Geneva. The Admiral's office walls were covered with star charts showing the locations of Human Protection Fleet vessels throughout the galaxy. The Sindri Empire sent another diplomatic request, Ji-hoon reported. They want to establish trade relations with humanity. "What did you tell them?" "The same thing I tell everyone. Prove that you respect human life, especially the lives of human children, and we can talk. Fail to prove it and stay away from us." "How do they prove it?" "That's their problem to figure out. I'm not in the business of teaching aliens how to be decent." Ji-hoon poured 2 glasses of Earth whiskey and handed one to Hyunwoo. "To the children," he said, raising his glass. "To the children," Hyunwoo replied. They drank in silence, both thinking about the war and its aftermath. The galaxy was indeed safer for human children, but the price had been enormous. Some nights, Ji-hoon still wondered if there had been another way. "Do you regret it?" Hyunwoo asked, as if reading his thoughts. "Regret saving 3,000 children. From torture and slavery? Never. But destroying entire civilizations?" Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. They were warned. At the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kyung-ho made our position clear. They chose to ignore that warning. They chose to see our love for our children as weakness to be exploited. And now? Now every species in the galaxy knows that humanity's greatest weakness is also our greatest strength. Touch our children, and we will burn down the universe to get them back. Outside the window, the lights of Earth's cities twinkled like stars. Somewhere out there, human children were sleeping safely in their beds, protected by the knowledge that their parents and their entire species would do anything to keep them safe. The next morning, Hyunwoo prepared his ship for another cargo. Run. The Prosperity's Edge had been rebuilt and upgraded with military-grade shields and weapons. He would never again be helpless when facing threats to human children. "Where to this time, Captain?" asked his new crew member, a young woman named Sun-hee who had volunteered after her brother was rescued from a Vorthak facility. "The Outer Rim colonies. They need medical supplies and school equipment." "Sounds boring." "Boring is perfect," Hyunwoo replied. "Boring means no one is trying to hurt human children." As they prepared to leave Earth's orbit, a message came from Admiral Ji-hoon. "Captain Park, we've received reports of suspicious activity in the Kepler sector. A species called the Molari may be attempting to restart the child trafficking networks." "Investigate and report." Hyunwoo felt the familiar anger rising in his chest. Some species never learned. Sun-hee, plot a course for the Kepler sector, maximum speed. "Are we going to rescue more children?" "Maybe. Or maybe we're going to teach the Molari why that would be a very bad idea." The ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward what might be another rescue mission or another war. Hyunwoo didn't care which it turned out to be. Either way, human children would be protected. Behind them, Earth grew smaller until it was just another point of light among the stars. But its message echoed throughout the galaxy, carried by every human protection fleet vessel and every human trader. Our children are not property. They are not subjects for experiments. They are not slaves to be bought and sold. They are the future of humanity, and we will destroy anyone who threatens that future. The galaxy remembered the lesson of the alien uproar. Some lessons are written in words, others are written in the ashes of dead civilizations. The human lesson was written in both, and it would never be forgotten.